Shalom Israel. Real quick video. Giving all praises to Yahweh. By Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakah Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostle, elders, bishops, great millstone. Most salutation to the brothers teaching the word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect, most I will. To the hopeful extended elect multitude, shalom, blessings, men, women, and children. Hopefully this is edifying. It's real simple, basically. And it's a cold case video. Regarding the victim as a 17-year-old Nia Tovar. This is a picture of her and the one that killed her, murdered her. And I read a little bit about it, and she lied to her parents. Basically, that's what a lot of teenagers, teenage females do. Talking particularly black females, especially when they want to go off and have sex, go off and, they have a secret boyfriend they didn't want their parents to know about. And they said she actually told her mother she was going on a 2-week trip or something like that. She'd be back in 2 weeks, and the scripture said, never trust thine enemy. We often talk about that. Enemy is Esau, so-called white man. And the people that live nearby even called his house because they would hear noise like drums and some beating and against the walls, I guess, and they would call that the creepy house, or the man in the creepy house, or the creepy man in the house. You could look at help yourself, if you into that. These type of stories. His name was Abraham Feenblum of Salton City. He dismembered her, which is a lot of. That's most of the time, the victims by these predators are dismembered. They said they found the leg and they can't find the rest of the body. So, and then they, went into the DNA and did their investigation. They found out that it was this young female. So, young females between 12 or 13, which a lot of black people just try to dismiss the reality of. They go and have sleepovers. They go and secretly meet with boyfriends. It's the time that they on their cycle, or their cycle starts. So they go through hormonal levels of emotions and, confusion sometimes. They might even try to dive into, trying lesbianism, what have you, at that age. And it's often portrayed in movies and shows, sitcoms, shows, series. And our people ain't got any problem with that. They got a problem with the laws of the Most High, how we teach, which is biblical. But, all day long, our people could be sodomites and lesbians and all that. And they say, well, leave them alone. Let them do what they do. And usually this type of behavior starts at a young age, 12 or 13. And you could maybe do your own research about the statistics regarding young girls when they start to sneak out at houses, their rooms, and start, having secret boyfriends. They get pregnant, 13 to 14. But, our people don't know that that's a common thing among Israel back then, especially. But these American laws is different. But, it's definitely not expedient, and it comes with a certain character a major character of spirituality in dealing with these factors of behavior that are permissible among Israel. And the Bible is not just like wild like Esau. Even when you deal with grape, they think about Esau's type of way. So, the scriptures say, Sirach 12 and 10 in Apocrypha, never trust thine enemy, for as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So they probably have been talking for a little bit. I'm pretty sure. And sometimes, not always. I mean, they meet these people online and they feel that they're genuine people, and they only known them a week, texting back and forth, and then they meet up with them. They probably promise them money. It might be most of the time it's a lure factor. They lure them in with promising them things, giving them money. Probably sent them money. She believed it, and it's, you could be young and docile. You could be, especially being raised in America. America, they don't teach our children to become really, truly educated, concerning life responsibility. It's more like, well, take this curriculum, take this class. If you don't, take some tests that you don't pass, you held back, and nothing more. Science and sociality and home economics and those type of things that they offer even in college. It doesn't help our people. It don't help our people, man. It says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. And these are, more. This happens more often than it is reported or publicized in the news. So you can imagine time that's coming, that times are going to be worse. Time of Jacob's trouble is going to be worse. So you could, and it talks about in the scriptures how wickedness increases. There's an increase of wickedness. There's a such thing as something worse than another thing. A wickedness worse than another kind of wickedness, a wicked act. And it'll be like such as an example of, it could have been, she could have been with 2 or 3 more people, and they all could have got murdered and dismembered and put in freezers like some Jeffrey Dahmer type of ish. Could have been, great many times before they actually murdered the person or persons. That type of thing, and the monstrous. And they might call it, and if somebody had that, if somebody did that to that degree, they might consider them mentally unstable and put him in a correction. I mean, what do you call it? Put him in prison, but he wouldn't be among the other prisoners. He would be kind of like protected in a way because he's mentally ill. So, which her family is, I'm pretty sure, crying out, and they probably want him to have the death penalty or whatever. He might get life in prison, and I wish he would, get executed. Whatever the case, you don't know what they do to these people, and they make stories out of these people. They did with, if you know about the woman that played the role in the Monster movie, I think it was called Monster, where it was based on a true story. She got men back for raping her, and she murdered, like, it was, in her mind it was revenge. She murdered like over 5, 6 dudes, I think, going around with a shotgun, shooting them. And, She even said in her own words that they was letting her do that. They could have caught her. She said she was a sloppy, like she leave behind evidence. She didn't know what she was doing. She just go on a rampage, and that she said they could have been and caught her, but they was letting her do that to make a movie out of her, to make money out of her, and she actually wanted to be executed. I think Kathy Bates played the role, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been another female, but she and they that this is a movie to them, and they publicize these things, and they I'm talking about the elite men, the men in control. It's like the rich men of the earth. They all this is like a movie to them, and anything they publicize like on this level, you know, they definitely feel satisfied with you know blood and murder. It says, since thou hast not hated blood, go to the scripture talking about the so-called white man. Blood shall pursue thee. So murdering to them is nothing. They're hunters. They around blood. They at the butcher shop. They around blood. Ezekiel 35:6. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, I will prepare thee into blood, and blood shall pursue thee. And sit thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And it's another scripture that said, blood touches blood. Like, he doesn't care. He's bloody made bloody meat. You know, he murdered Negroes, mainly Negroes, but Latino Native Americans. All that bloodshed that he did when he came over with the Native Americans and the Negroes, 77 million and then 99 million and plus what have you, and throwing our people to the alligators and stomping babies and all that. So, hey, those things are still in them, man. I mean, you know, and let me see what it says in the story. It said her family questions why it took so long to test the DNA and secure a warrant. See, and they nicknamed his property the man in the scary house. And they found her remains. Said neighbors told reported they heard strange noises, drums, bright lights, even screams from the property, and had nicknamed him the man in the scary house. And a lot of these are remote places, and he might have a nice house. How did this guy get a nice house and he's a murderer? Like, they just don't murder. I'm pretty sure this is not his first murder, and it might be, but a lot of times, just like some Ted Bundy, they have bodies under them. And then when they do the investigation and they find a body and they may find another body, that's linked to him being a murder. That's all that they show. That's all that they give, that information. But he probably murdered many other bodies that they're not gonna get into because it's too much investigation. It's too much, too much to go into. It's come on, man. You think they gonna? The news is a one outlet source. Even though it goes out daily, so to speak, they're not gonna report every murder. Look at how many babies is being murdered behind closed doors by those elite men. The Epstein files, that shit was going on for so long, and now it's just surfacing. So you imagine how many people were sacrificed, how many people were murdered in that time between when they first started doing it and I think it was always a practice. I think it didn't stop. This trickles down from the Roman Empire. trickles down from the Greek and them being as Edomites. Esau pursuing Jacob. This is nothing new. So we're not a bit of surprise, and that's why we really never cry out concerning our people on this side because, you know, um, it's a scripture that says, "Whoever perish being innocent," and also, our people have to learn, you know, and they're not gonna say. A lot of the parents of these children are Masons, Masons. They're in the Illuminati and they make sacrifices. Believe it or not, and I think that happened with Trayvon Martin. And it's always some crazy uh, um, story behind their murder with George Floyd and everything, with police. And so, you don't know who's behind these things. And you don't know if their parents are Freemasons and they make sacrifices. They do in the industry. The industry people are not the only people that do this. The industry people are not only people that are witches. It's witches all over this place. They practice witchcraft, voodoo. They practice and they murder and they. A lot of these houses, the people are creepy. Esau is creepy himself. So Most High is gonna allow you to see Esau for who he really is. Like it says, his rust is not altogether wiped away. So you have something shiny and then you be like, oh, and it's good for 10, 20 minutes, and then the rust comes back. You're like, damn. So fake gold out there, AI. It's a lot of fake, even fake representation out there. Fake people. They got masks, synthetic masks that look real. You know, um, and then the fake profiles and all that. So you gotta be careful who you talk to online, who you communicate with, and engage with, who you meet up with. You know, and the code. A lot of times when meeting up today, people be like, "Well, I want to meet up in a open place, a public place." So, but still, that doesn't matter because once you start to get to know somebody, of course, you're gonna feel like, okay, you feel comfortable with them when you're gonna invite them to your house or vice versa, and they're gonna do it then. So Esau's a good actor too. He's top notch actor. So he could have many bodies on him, and you won't know. He'll go grocery shopping along with the everyday people, and you'll never know until you know the murder is investigated, and that's Most High too, putting the spirit on these investigators and these DNA research people. It's not always because a lot of them are Edomites, and they got the tools and stuff, and they got the resources to do that, and that's a blessing. But it's all Most High set that all up. Even with the fingerprints, like every fingerprint is different. They say so. You could go trace, somebody's DNA or who they are according to their fingerprints or their blood, what have you. So, you better worship the Creator, more than the creation. And it's a very highly, uh, you know, intelligent, above intelligent, powerful God that created man, that created spirits that He knew the operation thereof that was set up to be, and how things would be sought out, how things would be uh, followed. Regarding you just like so you can't just murder. You can't just somebody didn't seen it. Somebody didn't you know is being recorded. Somebody's gonna find out. The blood's gonna cry out from the ground, and that's so to speak, metaphoric. But you have some children playing, and they'll discover a leg or some or human remains, and then they'll report it to and then it'd be somebody from 10 years ago. So we're thankful for those things. I mean, but that's the Most High. revealing things that had been hidden in the earth, and that he's going to reveal these devils, and this devil's been revealed. But it's too late because one of one of our people are dead, and I say that lightly because she's not she doesn't she's not living in by the spirit of Yahweh Yahushai. So it'd be a lot different if she did. But of course, she's an Israelite, and we take heed to those things as an example because we're Israelites too. So it kind of still affects us, and in certain ways. But it's just it should just be a wake up call to our people. But we've already known this and we taught this. Never trust thine enemy. And I tried to get his picture again, but it didn't pop up. Yeah. So that was it, man. Hopefully it's edifying. See you next video. Shalom.